Hi everyone, welcome back to Bethany's Vintage Fairy Tale. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to be sharing with you guys some thrifted DIY decor pieces. We're going to be starting out with this adorable little heart wall hanging idea. I actually found this off of Pinterest and I really wanted to try to recreate it with some thrifted fabric that I found. So what we're doing is I'm just going ahead and freehanding a little heart design, just kind of freehanding it. If you guys want to, you could always print off a template if you're not confident in your drawing skills, but don't worry about it being too perfect. We're going for a shabby chic, antique inspired DIY, so it doesn't need to be perfect. And then once you have both pieces traced, you're going to go ahead and just cut those out. So now that we have both pieces cut out, I'm going ahead and just laying them directly on top of each other, making sure to have the right side of the fabric facing out because that's the side that we want to see when we go ahead and apply our hot glue. And I'm just going around the perimeter of the pillow with using a thin layer of hot glue. You don't need to use too much because you don't want to add too much bulk. Or if you also want to sew this, you could definitely do that as well. I just kind of wanted to do this pretty fast and easily, so I just kind of opted for the hot glue. And then now that we've reached the little point in the pillow, I wanted to add a strap. That way I could hang this piece because I wanted this to be a wall hanging. So I'm just kind of measuring out roughly how long I want the little strap to be and then just cutting that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and hot glue the two ends together just so that they're nice and secure. And then I'm going to sandwich it in between the two layers of fabric, just making sure that it's really nice and straight and even on both sides. And then again, adding in a little bit more hot glue. And then once you have the strap firmly set in place, go ahead and continue on with your hot glue, making sure to leave a little pocket so that we can go ahead and add in our stuffing. So one of my favorite budget-friendly hacks is actually to buy the Walmart pillows. They're about $3 or $4 a pillow and you get a ton of stuffing, so you could make so many projects with it. I find it's way cheaper than going to the fabric store and picking up the batting that they sell there. This is really nice and inexpensive and it works just the same. So I'm going ahead and just adding in all of my stuffing, making sure to kind of pull it apart a little bit just to make sure there's no clumps or any bits that are too lumpy. And then once you have all of your stuffing in place, go ahead and hot glue the end shut. So here it looks so far. It's already looking super adorable. I love how the fabric is looking. The only thing I wanted to do was just add in a little bit more detail to the edge, just to kind of cover up a little bit of the raw edges here. So I'm using some lace that I actually picked up from the dollar store, and my idea was to kind of pleat it with my fingers to kind of give a little bit of a faux ruffled effect. I love how this just adds a little bit more to that shabby chic, very romantic feel that I was going with this decor piece. And this is very easy to do. You just add a thin layer of hot glue and then using your fingers just go ahead and pleat the material. Don't worry about being too precise with this. Again, this is an antique inspired decor piece, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Just make sure not to burn yourself. I've been hot gluing for years, so my fingers are pretty tough, but if you're not comfortable using your fingers, you could always go ahead and sew this on, or you can even use a spatula to kind of hold it down when you're using your hot glue. Anything will work. And then just kind of go ahead and add in all of the ruffles. So here you can see how all of the ruffles turned out. I love how it kind of finishes off the raw edges of the fabric and then also added that beautiful romantic shabby chic kind of look to the pillow, and the nice neutral color of the lace really toned in well with the fabric. So really loving how this turned out. You could even make this as a throw pillow itself. I'm really tempted to go ahead and make some more of these. It was so much fun and super easy to create. So I wanted to add a little bit more of a romantic touch. So I had this lace on hand. I got a huge bag of lace from the thrift store, but it was a little bit too stark white and just didn't kind of tone in with the vibe I was going for. So one of my favorite techniques is actually going ahead and using tea to dye fabric. It's a very budget-friendly, easy way to kind of give some old lace or fabric some new looks. And I love how it kind of made this lace look even prettier. It was so beautiful. I love the color it turned out. I actually used a raspberry tea, so it kind of gave it a little bit of a pinky beige color, which I thought was so pretty and really tones in well with the rest of my decor. I'm just going ahead and tying a simple bow just directly onto the strap that's going to be holding up our wall hanging, and I love how this just gives it a little bit more of that beautiful romantic touch. Here you can see how the wall hanging turned out. I'm so over the moon excited with this, guys. It was so much fun to create and so budget friendly. I got all of the lace and the fabric from the thrift store, so it was very inexpensive, and I love how it looks hanging on the wall with all of my pictures. It's so beautiful and very neutral. You could do this with a variety of different fabrics or prints and totally customize this to whatever kind of decor style that you guys are doing. So for our next DIY, I wanted to create some vintage letters. This is one of my favorite DIYs. I actually shared this at the very beginning of launching my channel, but I wanted to update you guys a little bit. So I'm just going ahead and adding in some regular old printer paper into some cookie sheets, and then just adding in my tea bags. Again, I'm using the same raspberry tea because I kind of wanted a little bit of that kind of pinky hue to my paper. And then just using some warm water and my fingers, I'm just going ahead and kind of opening up the tea bags a little bit just to kind of get as much color out of the tea bags as possible. And then making sure to move them around every few hours just to get the most color out of the tea bags. And then here you can see how they look when they're all dry. I'm just loving how rustic they are. It almost looks like they're burnt in certain areas. And then the texture of the little granules from the tea really comes out. It's so beautiful and budget friendly. So now we're going to go ahead and cut our letters out. I'm just using a template that I printed off of Google and just going ahead and trimming those out. There's also lots of other things you guys can do with this paper. I've used this for card making. I've also used it for little labels for when I'm entertaining and I want to have cute little shabby chic labels on my food. You could totally use it for that, or even for goodie bag tags. You can use this paper for all sorts of different crafts, but I absolutely love making these vintage letters. I even got some little vintage stamps in the mail, so I'm thinking about adding a few of those on just to kind of give it a little bit more personality. But these are so fun and easy to do. You can do them with your kids or your family. They're very inexpensive, and I thought kind of for Valentine's Day it'd be kind of cute to make these little love letters. So we're going to be going ahead and just adding in some paint. I want to be decoupaging this and distressing it to make it look really rustic and shabby chic. So I'm just giving it a little layer of paint. I just mixed some white paint with a little bit of brown just to kind of give it a little bit of a creamy color, and then just giving that a generous coat of paint all over the piece. Now that the box is fully painted and dried, we're going to go ahead and do some decoupaging. So I got these napkins actually off of Amazon, and I loved how they had the little border on them. I thought they would be the perfect addition to add to this little box. So for the first step, you want to go ahead and separate your napkins. If there's any extra layers on there, you want it to be nice and flat and easy to Mod Podge, not too many layers, otherwise it can tend to bunch up on you. And then I'm going ahead and adding in some matte Mod Podge and then adding the decoupage piece directly on top. Now, since this is napkins, they're very thin and easy to rip, so I definitely recommend using kind of a tapping motion to attach the little piece of napkin onto your box. You don't want to use any swiping motions, otherwise you risk ripping the napkin. And then once you have that laid on, go ahead and use your brush and just add in a tiny bit of Mod Podge directly on top. Nothing too gloopy or thick. You don't want to add too much thickness here, but you also really want to seal it in. And then I'm going all the way around the box just to add in a beautiful little layer of these gorgeous florals and greenery. I thought it was such a little romantic touch, and the napkins came in a 50 pack, so I am set for decoupaging for a long time. I've got tons of material to work with, and it's a really fun, easy DIY, and you can customize so many different pieces. If you find something at the thrift store or even a dollar store that you're kind of like, I don't know if I love the look of it, but you can totally change it with this technique. So I just love adding those kind of personalized touches to my decor. So for our next step, I wanted to go ahead and add in a little bit more of a rustic charm to this piece. So I'm using a makeup sponge and some brown craft paint. And then using a stippling motion with the sponge, I'm going ahead and directly adding some brown paint all over this piece. I wanted it to look very aged and antique, and I just also thought that this would kind of help blend in the napkin with the wood itself. That way there's no harsh lines or anything like that. And it's totally up to you how much paint you would like to apply. I went pretty heavy-handed with the paint just because I like the way that looks, but you can customize this to whatever decor style that you guys are going for. And then here you can see how it looks with all of the paint. And then for our final step, we're going to go ahead and use a sanding block. This is actually one from the dollar store, and I'm just kind of using a heavy hand and going all the way around the box just to give it a really nice rustic texture. I love how the natural wood tones really came through the paint and just added that really nice, beautiful, very rustic, antique look, especially with the depth and dimension from the paint and the box. I thought this was such a beautiful piece, and I love how it was the perfect size to hold all of my vintage letters. So I'm so excited to share this with you guys, and you can customize this, of course, to whatever kind of decor style that you guys are going for. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I had so much fun sharing with you guys these thrifted DIY decor pieces. Make sure you guys stay tuned also, because in a few weeks from now, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a decorate with me, how I style all of my thrifted decor pieces, lots of DIY. So make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel. I would love to have you guys part of the Fairytale family here. So I love you guys so much. I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.